So I've been asked to tell you not so much directly about the flies, but more about my journey with flies and other insects. So you'll find it's also referring to me, and that's not because I've got a big ego, it's because that's what I've been asked to do. Okay, so discovering flies and bugs. I'm afraid I'm going to have to mainly talk from what I've written on there, otherwise I go way over the 15 minutes. So this is just the, but note that within a short time you can get awards for doing this as well, so another good reason to, to have a go. Right, so, right, there we go. I've done it in terms of stepwise, how I got into it, why I've done it, and so the first step for all of us, as we all start off this way, is be curious. And I've always been curious about the natural world, especially small things. I always brought something home to Mum to show her, a leaf, a feather, a seed, something. I didn't know what they were, but I was searching, I was watching, I was listening, I was wondering, and there we are. That's how I started off. Just a few years ago. Books were helpful, but not very much so. And it was only decades after my interest was piqued that I was able to do much about it when I took redundancy. So, and then when I took my redundancy, I changed my focus from plants to the insects that kept getting in the photos. So, this is one of the first insects I really identified, and I found it at Dancer's End, and it's a Downland Villa, which at the time was very rare. So, step 2, get out here in the field. New books were out, and yes, this did help me enormously, and you can see it's very well worn. I did know a few butterflies and insects, but I needed to learn more, and the books helped me. And Mick, Dancer's End, and various other people really helped me. I did spend 30 minutes one day trying to find out what this lovely fly was in front of me, and it's a marmalade hoverfly. And if any of you know about marmalade hoverflies, they are incredibly common. So we all have to start somewhere. There we are, marmalade hoverfly. So called because it looks like cups of orange string. I also joined Big in about 2016, and I was warned it's a very odd bunch, but I fitted right in, and I was introduced to interesting people, places, the importance of recording, and so in 2016 I put my very first record on the iRecord, and that was just a small popper. Since then I've added over 31,000 records, and I've got, I think it's 2,440 currently on iRecord, of which not quite 500 dipteras out of 7,000. Okay, so finding the Villa Cingulata I think got me noticed. Step 3, take loads of photos and not very many specimens, because if you take loads and loads of photos, they're easy to hand around and show to people or whatever. Then, in terms of my journey, in late 2017, Nick's needed somebody to help out at Bragnham to do the insect survey. And I really didn't realise how big the site was. It's huge, and they've got so much stuff there. But I did my best. I needed some help. So I went on walks, like one to Yosden, where Ched George was there, and he helped me by pointing out some of the species. And this was one of them, a rare hoverfly that lives in ants' nests, Mycodon devius. And because I'd been on that walk, I was able to identify it easily when I found it at Bragnham, and it's an important species to find. Sorry, I'm going off spiel, I can't help it. But I was taking, at Bradnam, far more photos and specimens. I only took very few specimens, and I had no means of handling specimens. So taking photos was the right thing to do at the time. And on the back of that, that's why I won the NBN Newcomer of the Year, plus a few other bits and pieces I was doing. I still go back to Bradnam's occasionally. And 2022, I found that, which is a wood drab soldier fly, which isn't often found. It's small, but apparently I'm good at finding small, weird things, so that's the thing I do. Step 4, research and teach. If you do all the research, then you're going to find out more and you can help add to what's known as well. So, let's come back. I'm learning quickly. I realised how much help I had to get started. If I hadn't had Nick and Martin and Neil and everybody else in Big, I couldn't have gone as quickly as I have. I needed to know more, and I wanted to bring people on. So, in my ignorance, I decided that maybe I was one of the best people to try and do that, because I wasn't yet fully committed, and I was a hop, skip and a jump ahead of the people I wanted to help. So, supported by Mick Jones and Martin Harvey, I taught a course at Dancer's End, an introduction to insects and invertebrates, and about the recording of it. And there's a few people who were on the course. Yes, there's a few hands going up. And it's just an introduction to get people to recognise a beetle from a bug, and a fly from a sawfly, So anyway, but teaching that, I had to do a lot of research, and my goodness did I learn a lot. I can't answer all the questions I've got yet, and nobody's got the answers to everything. But taking photos, I took a photo of a weird insect, I didn't know what it was. It turned out to be quite a scarce robber fly, and there it was trying to oviposit, so that told us a bit more about it. So, step 5, join others in the field, because everybody knows different things. There we are. Watching and listening others really helps you to develop what you're doing. You don't have to do the same things. But watching people, how they catch, how they don't, how they look, it's really helpful. Big has a range of opportunities for recording. A Dipterists Forum do, and the British Entomological and Natural History Society, which is what that Benz is about. Or just go out on site with friends who also like entomology. It's amazing what you can learn. So I would very much encourage that. And as you learn about the common species, the less common ones will start to pop out. So on site with Nick, we were looking for moths actually. He came towards me with something in his hand, and I completely ignored what was in his hand and looked at his t-shirt, because on his t-shirt was this, which is to date the only record of this species in Buckinghamshire. Is that correct?
I think so.
And because I was able to pot it, it's also gone to the Darwin Tree of Life. So it's done a lot of good work with just this one fly. And I couldn't have done it if Nick hadn't been coming towards me with his shirt on. So there we go. So, challenge yourself, find a project, play to your strengths. I thought when I set out to do everything, I won't do soldier flies and allies because we've got the national expert with us. There's no point in doing that. What I didn't realise was that the soldier flies and allies would come to me and I wouldn't have much choice about it. So I've been the first to find 3 or 4 species of soldier flies and allies in the county, and they just seem to pop down in front of me. And I thought, oh well, I can take his photo. And because they're doing that, I thought, well, they can't just be where I am now. So I've been able to go out and start actively looking for the species and mapping the distribution. So the downland robberfly, these are pretty much all the places I've found it. But it can't just be me that's, there must be elsewhere, but it's something I can do to help, is to keep an eye out for these species I'm familiar with so we can help find their distribution. And I'm doing the same with the brown heath robberfly now. And with the distributions, it helps with the climate change data. It helps with whether insects are moving north or south or whatever's happening. So it might be just a spot record for me, but it's useful stuff. This is another project. I went on College Lake with an entomological friend. We were looking for greenfly, aphids. And we found that, but we also found these things rushing up and down the stem and wondered what they were. She had an idea that they were tachychromia, and I hadn't got a good microscope at the time. She was away from home. So we turned up on Martin's doorstep with a couple in the pot, and he kindly identified them as Tachychromia smithii. And at the time, there's only about 5 national records, and I was finding up to 60 a day at College Lake. So I thought, okay, I better do something about this. So it's a population I'm still studying to find out when they come out, when they finish being active, and I've managed to catch them mating and also watching their behaviour. So this is how they look. They're about 3 millimetres long. Female down the bottom. I think she's doing something with pheromones there, because that starts to get the male in the bud a little bit sort of agitated, sticking his wings. And then they do a lot of this crabwise walking. That was an unsuccessful attempt, but they are weird little creatures. They've got very white coats, which I think is, and with black and white wings, is something to do with the signalling to themselves. So yes, that's tachychromia. Bucks generally. We've got a really wide range of habitats, good habitats. We've got a lot of nature reserve areas, wonderful. And here are some of the species which I've been lucky enough to find. So little balloon belly up the top there. Anyway, so the one at the top there, Jimmerstone nitons, so far the only one in Buckinghamshire. That was at Pitstone Church End. Golden tab robberfly, that's one that the Buckinghamshire Invertebrate Group found together. Martin saw the first one, and then we all caught one. And the golden long-horned hoverfly is another one. I think I've shown you the other ones, Microdon, Ragio. Oh, there's Cynophora flaviolata, that's one of our favourites. Big black and yellow crane fly.
Which we found at a work party just about 3 weeks ago, very early.
So we've got some really good flies in the county. And these ones are species which we know are probably changing their distribution for various different reasons. Everybody knows the dark-edged bee fly. We're now finding the dotted bee fly a lot. So it's worth looking out for, especially when you see females. If it's got white stripe up its backside, then it's a dotted bee fly. You don't have to wait for its wings to stop. But if it's a male, you've got to wait for it to stop, usually. The locust bowfly is meant to just feed on locusts. We don't have the locusts, we have the fly, so we think it's feeding on something else. So climate change is also changing the way the insects are actually interacting with their environment as well. Seldom seen or poorly recorded. These are ones which just seem to be a bit obscure, but some of them are everywhere. So the black-brimmed hunchback fly, I want to see one, but I know they're on Ivanhoe because they've been caught there. The delicate soldier is a beautiful little fly, but as it's only about 3 millimetres long, most people overlook it. That's a college lake. But this is one you can all look out for. When you find bramble leaves, which are all contorted like that, it's nearly always this Dasymeria plicatrix, which is a gall midge which attacks brambles. And its distribution isn't properly mapped because most people don't bother recording it. So there's a lot you can do. So a lot of flies are very poorly recorded. Snail-killing flies are not well recorded. Gnats and mosquitoes, terribly recorded. Muskids, I'm afraid I'm one of those who goes, oh, it's a boring fly, and walks off to find something more interesting. But really important in the overall environment. So we need more dicterists.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Thanks, Sue.